6 ways to make your meetings more productive and efficient. Oh no, another meeting. Most of the time, your team has that reaction to a meeting request that you send out. But meetings are important. You need them to brainstorm, to find new ideas, to find new solutions to problems, to collaboratively work towards something, a vision, an idea, which is why meetings are important. But how do you ensure that they're productive? They don't suck time and energy, yours as well as your team's, and you actually land up achieving something during that meeting. And most importantly, at the end of the day, you don't feel, yaar, itni meetings kari, lekin kuch hua hi nahi. So here are 6 ways to make your meetings more productive and efficient. 1. Make the duration of the meeting very clear. Most of us mention the time at which the meeting will start. We don't mention the time at which the meeting will end, because in our own heads, we don't know at what time it will end. So it's always, let's meet at 11 o'clock. It ideally should be, let's meet from 11 to 11:30 for XYZ. Now this holds true for all meetings, whether they are one-on-one or they are one-to-many. I had a boss who would do this. She would say, Dipika, I will meet you from 11 to 11:15 to discuss XYZ. Now initially it was very tough because I would meander, I would bring up other things, I would have some loose discussions around other topics as well. But she would end the meeting at 11:15. And soon I realized that if I didn't stick to the agenda and if I didn't stick to that 15-minute time limit in my head, I would suffer. So I knew, I was trained now that I had to get all my approvals, do all my discussions within those 15 minutes, because she was going to end the meeting at 11:15. She already had another meeting planned or whatever she had to do at 11:15, which meant I only had that 15 minutes. Now, initially, your teams might find this difficult because we are not used to this. We sit, we faff, we discuss. But if you start doing this regularly, your teams will also understand and they will also get trained that this is the time that we have to discuss XYZ. So, put an end time to the meeting as well and then stick to it. 2. The agenda of your meeting should be very clear in your head as well as on paper, so that the others are also clear on what the agenda of the meeting is. Many a times, agendas get hijacked, discussions get hijacked. You start with something, then some other problem crops up, someone mentions some other problem that they're looking for a solution for, and the meeting moves around without focusing on one particular agenda. Always be very clear in your head why you're calling for people for a meeting, and then also ensure that other people are very clear. Now, mostly for very large meetings or meetings with outside stakeholders, we do that. We send out a mail and then we mention the agenda to discuss so and so. But even for smaller meetings, if you're meeting one person from your team, also make the agenda very clear so that you know what has to be discussed. The other person knows what they have to prepare for and what the agenda is going to be. That way, the meeting is going to be very productive and very efficient, because both of you now are very clear, or all of you now are very clear on what the discussion points of the meeting are going to be. So you will not meander and the meeting will not get hijacked into too many things. So these two things combined, if you put a time limit or a duration to the meeting and you have the agenda very clear, you're already working towards having very productive and efficient meetings. 3. Invite only those stakeholders that are absolutely critical and important to that meeting. We land up calling the whole world. हाँ तुम भी आ जाओ, हाँ तुम भी आ जाओ, तुम भी आ जाओ. Why? This is what makes the meetings meander and it becomes one big party, and agendas and discussions do get hijacked because people who are not relevant or critical to that particular agenda of the meeting will take that time to discuss other things that are important to them. Right? So only call those people who are absolutely critical to that agenda which is being discussed. Keep your meeting size very, very lean. The reverse also holds true. So don't discuss anything where the stakeholders that are relevant to that point are not in the meeting. So for example, I was consulting with an organization and the founder, I was working on the product, and the founder, suppose she held a meeting with me on an update on the product, and during the update I brought up something to do with marketing. She would immediately cut me short and say, but we'll discuss this when the marketing team is present, right? So she would not brook any discussion where the stakeholders were not present. So both things are important. First, invite only those stakeholders who are relevant to that particular agenda of the meeting, and then don't discuss anything where stakeholders are not present, right? So it makes the meeting very lean and very efficient. Today we are only discussing XYZ, and these are the people who are involved in XYZ, and so let's have a really tight meeting about XYZ. If we have to discuss ABC, then we will call people who are relevant to ABC, right? Otherwise, let's not discuss ABC. Also, please, let's not discuss NOP as well, because that is not a part of your agenda. And that's how you keep the meeting very, very tight. So now we've set the duration of the meeting, the time limit, the end point of the meeting. We've figured out exact agenda of the meeting, and we've invited only those stakeholders who are absolutely clear and who are absolutely relevant for that meeting. 4. Facilitate the meeting really well. Now you're clear in your head on what the agenda is. Other people have also hopefully prepared on that particular agenda. Ensure that the meeting moves very efficiently towards an outcome. Stop any hijacking. If somebody brings up anything else apart from the topic to be discussed, cut it short there. If people are meandering, if people are not coming to the point, ensure that you mention, can we bring the meeting back to the point? It's very important to play traffic cop so that your meetings are productive and efficient. So you have to cut people short. You have to gently guide the meeting back to the agenda. You have to ensure that no one is hijacking. If the meeting is dissolving into something that you don't want it to dissolve into, feel free to say that this is not okay. Also ensure that people are not getting into infighting. I see this a lot during meetings. People are not arguing needlessly and no egos are being fanned. It is your job as the leader, and as the leader, it's not necessarily the team leader, it's the person who's also facilitating the meeting. It could be anybody. It's your job to ensure that people are not getting into ego fights and ego issues. But we are working towards an outcome. So feel free to play the traffic cop and facilitate the meeting well to ensure that it is productive and efficient. 5, also appoint a facilitator. So have someone by your side who will ensure that meeting notes are taken down and circulated at the end of the meeting. This person's job is also to note down the outcomes, what and who, what is to be done at the end of the meeting, whatever solution has been found, what needs to be done as the second step or as the next step, and who is going to do it. Critical. Sometimes we end a meeting with ye karna hai, let's all do it, let's do it. Well, who's going to do it? Very important to mention that in black and white. So at the end of the meeting, these are the points. Summarize all the points that have been discussed. Summarize the next steps that have to be taken, which is your what, and also point out and summarize who is going to be taking what next steps, the who, and appoint someone to follow up, appoint someone to put all of these down on paper, send out a mail to all the stakeholders, everyone who was present in the meeting, and then also follow up on the what and who. So appoint someone, delegate it to someone who will be good at following up, because you don't want the meeting, you don't want large heavy discussions to happen during the meeting, big discussions, and then nothing to come out of it. Ultimately, the point is to have an outcome, and ultimately the point is for someone to do something execute something based on all of those discussions, right? So appoint someone who will follow up on the outcome of the meeting. And 6, be inclusive. One of the reasons, and I've researched this, I've spoken to a lot of people, one of the reasons that people don't like to be a part of the meetings is because they don't even know why they're in that meeting, or sometimes their voice is just not being heard, right? So don't play favorites in a meeting. You know that in 6 people, there are 2 or 3 people who generally come up with the good ideas, who are generally your team stars, etc. Don't focus only on them, because you don't know where the ideas could be coming from. And also, when you start ignoring people in your team, they automatically switch off and stop contributing, which is a very dangerous situation. So nurture those people as well. Listen to everybody. And also, there is this one thing that I definitely want to point out. Sometimes person A is speaking, right? They have some idea. Person A is speaking and we're all listening to them. When person B cuts in, now for some reason everybody's attention shifts to person B. Could be because their voice is louder, they just have a better idea, they're more commanding, etc. Everybody's attention shifts to person B. We hear the person B out and say yes, whatever, we agree. And then the meeting moves on to something else. It's a good thing to bring the meeting back to person A and say, you were saying. That person will feel included as well, and that person will not feel the meeting was hijacked from them and it went somewhere else. That's great empathetic behavior. And this is not true just of meetings. Even at parties and social occasions, this happens. Somebody's speaking, somebody else will start speaking, everybody's attention will shift, and then we move on to something else. And that poor person A was like, मैं कुछ बोल रही थी या मैं कुछ बोल रहा था, So it's very kind and very empathetic and very inclusive to bring the discussion back and quickly say you were saying something, and help them quickly say what, even if it is irrelevant, sometimes just help them quickly say what they had to say. If it is important, very good. If it is not important, just move on to the next point. That's very inclusive behavior, and that makes your team feel heard. I think, like I said, one of the reasons why another meeting happens is because people don't even know why they're supposed to be in that meeting. They don't understand what is going to be the point of that meeting, and they don't really know what contribution are they expected to make from the meeting, right? So if you do all of this, keep meetings short, crisp and sharp, very, very focused agenda, only with people who are most relevant to that agenda. And then you facilitate the meeting really well, so that's a very, very tight meeting. And then you include everyone in that meeting. And finally, you appoint someone to follow up on the outcome of the meetings. You will have a very productive and very efficient meeting. This is Dipika Singh from shemeansbusiness. Don't forget to follow me on my various social media channels, and don't forget to like this video and share this video wherever you're watching it. Till next time, bye-bye.